I was on a train with other passengers, and this was a trip just for pleasure, cross country. I'm not sure which country, but it felt like Europe. We were all in the dining car, just drinking and having a good time. Then the conductor came in to share an important announcement. There was a problem with the train. The brakes were out, and the train was moving really, really fast, and she couldn't stop it, and she couldn't slow it down. She was doing everything in her power to find a solution. I didn't think it was a big deal. There's always a solution. So we all just went back to drinking and eating and having a good time. This was just like other emergencies that are overhyped on the news. You know, they say there's a huge snowstorm coming and it could potentially knock out critical portions of the power grid and cripple the city, but nothing terrible happens and you get to have a couple of days off at home and you get to play in the big fluffy snow drifts and nobody gets hurt. So I thought this would be something like that. Just a little hiccup, but mostly over sensationalized, and they would find a solution and everything would be okay. Later on, the conductor came back with a second update. There is no solution and the situation is worse. We're headed off a cliff and there's no hope in sight. We're in communication with Central Command and they're doing everything they can to mitigate the damage. Could it be? I thought. Is there really no solution? I still thought it would turn out okay. There's always a solution. But she came back a third time. We're headed for the cliff now. We're all doomed. We're all gonna die. Up until then, I'd been skeptical and I'd been a passive observer. But now I decided to step up and take charge and look around and find a solution for myself. Because I didn't trust this conductor who said there was no solution. We'd all been moved to the back of the train now, so we were in the caboose. And I got everyone's attention and I pointed out the windows and I said, "Look at all these windows. Could we not just jump out the windows?" And the conductor said, "That's too dangerous. The ground is farther down than it looks. We'll all break our legs." And I said, "A broken leg isn't the end of the world. At least we would all survive." And then she said, "A compound fracture can sever the femoral artery." So she wasn't happy with that solution. I muttered under my breath, "Well, if you argue for your limitations, then you get to keep them." I was pretty annoyed with the conductor at this point. So I looked all the way to the back of the train and I saw a glass door and I walked up to the door. It was the kind of door that you'd find at a convenience store, the kind that's all glass and it has a metal handle and you just push it open. And I looked out the door and there was a metal staircase that was leading down to ground level. So if we could get out this door, we could simply walk down the stairs and just hop off and we'd all be okay. Even with the train going at this speed, the final step of the ladder was so close to the ground that we could just hop off and it would be okay. And the conductor saw me looking at the door and she said, "I know what you're thinking. That won't work. That door is always locked." So I simply pushed open the door and I turned around and looked at everyone behind me and I said, "You're always freer than you think you are." So we all exited the train and hopped off and the train kept going and sped right off the cliff, but we were all safe. We were all beside the tracks and safe and we were going to be okay. The conductor was really embarrassed because she knew now she had to call Central Command and tell them that she utterly failed to solve this problem on her own when there was a solution the whole time. So she's on the phone with Central Command. She sounds really sheepish and really embarrassed. And they asked her for a status update. And she said, "Yeah, so you know how we're always freer than we think we are?" And then I woke up.